looking through the collection for penknives. They're quite rare, actually. There aren't many of them. I've got perhaps half a dozen. This is an example of one. Um, it's actually a key. It's so small. It's like a Swiss penknife, basically the colour of Swiss penknife, but it's only a little key fob, really, because that's a chain to hang your keys to. It does have a blade, which is good, and then it's got. Only got three things, I think. It's got a little file. That one there is a little file, and it's got the one which I like best of all. If I on the back, if I can open it. Every good Swiss penknife should have a pair of scissors. I think that's brilliant. That's such a lovely design. That when I first saw that in a penknife, I was bowled over by it. So this tiny little sort of not even a pocket penknife, just a key fob penknife, does have scissors. So that was one I found in my collection. Very small, but very sweet. And the even smaller one occurred in a case nearby, which was this one here. Look at that. Absolutely minute. Doesn't even have the Swiss cross in it, but it's got the sort of colour. That's only got two blades, I'm afraid. It's got the one blade there, and this one here is, I think, the bottle opener. It's a usual bottle opener. Probably too small to open the cap of a bottle. The bottle opener. So there we are. So those are real little penknives. But then a little bit of more searching, I came across one which is actually I completely overlooked this because it's actually it's under my lighters set of things. There are penknives. Well, I'll open up to show there are penknives there, including a little saw, which is see if I can get this into focus. There's a little saw there. It's got a blade, and I think it's got a pair of scissors. I hope it does. Everyone should have a pair of scissors. Which does it? Oh, it's got another saw. Anyway, the other thing it's got is a. Oh, it's not working now, but it's got a lighter. I was hoping to actually light a candle with it. But oh, here we are. Yes, almost. It's trying. Yeah. I'll put gas in it, but it won't do it. But oh yes, it's almost. But anyway, it's one of those actually quite fierce lighters, which is a windproof one. But it's also a functioning penknife, which is nice. I like that. Much earlier than that, when I was looking for real novelties, because penknives aren't novel enough normally, was this one here. It must be a Swiss penknife. Look, it's got a little Swiss cross. Can you see that? Little Swiss cross. And on the back, it did have lots and lots of blurb about it, there, but it's all faded now. It's 1980 something or other. Inside, of course, wasn't a penknife. It was, oh, yes. It's a little bubble blower. Look at this. If I had some bubbles in there, it would blow. Let me show how many there are. This is extraordinary. It's not a six-bladed penknife. It's a six bubble blower. Isn't that pretty? Very sweet. Don't think I've ever used it, to be honest, but it's a lovely thing to show people because it looks so like a Swiss penknife. So that was a nice one to find. There's probably the best of the proper penknives, this one here, which is oh, wonderful one. That lovely company who makes lots of things. This is a very clever idea because it's got a whole series of animals. It's supposed to be a llama or giraffe or something, but little legs as well. And let me just show a couple of the other things. Everything's on one side. There's nothing coming out of that side at all. It's all on the top side here. And there are already four things there, which are the four legs, but they're screwdrivers and various other things. But now let's look for something else here, which is very sweet. I think I can open it up. Yes, a bit. What's that? It's a kind of rhino, isn't it? With an eye. Let's see if I get this into focus. Got a horn and well, horns are. Got horns and a mouth and an eye there as well, and again the foot of two little legs at the end. A little bit easy to pull out is there's a shark here somewhere, I think. Let me see if I can get hold of that. Oh yes, let's put this one away. Hang on, too many pieces out at once. Yes, that's just supposed to be a shark, which is quite nice because it's got an eye to it as well. Forget about the eyes. It's a shark. and there's a rhino and so on. So that's a particularly nice one. I especially like that llama. No, so a good one. That. And then there's extraordinary extremes of penknives. I mean, that's a very small penknife I started with. What's the extremes of penknives? What's the biggest and the smallest and the most expensive and the cheapest, etc., etc. Well, I did come across and handled the biggest one that's actually been manufactured when I was in New York a few years ago. And it's this monster here. Look at this. I'll get it up to focus to get the words out. There we are. There's about 120 functions, they said, and about 76 blades. So some of the blades have got double functions and things. What a monster, and weighs, I don't know how much, but I handled that in the shop. Only, at the bottom it says $1,400, only $1,400. Oh, well, there we are. What a monster that was. Yes, I did think of it, but no, not seriously. There was actually about 20 years earlier than that, a much, much bigger one, which has never been sold. They did go into production. You could buy it from Hamilton Schlemmer in Midtown Manhattan at one time. But look at this monster, which appeared in the newspapers about 20 years earlier, the biggest one in the Guinness Book of Records. I'll try and get this into focus. And pull back. And this is about 300 pieces made by blades. My goodness, the size of that, and weighed about 10 pounds of weight. And I suppose you would have charged, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 pounds, £1,000. There's so many hundreds of hours gone into making that. So that's one extreme, the biggest penknife in the world. What about the smallest one? Well, I have handled that as well, or just about. I'll just show a rough picture of it, and I'll show you a much better range of it. This is the penknife. It is a Swiss penknife, but that gives you no idea of the size of it, which is absolutely minute. It's made by Lawrence Ledger, who makes those tiny little automatons. So he's an ex-watchmaker, knows how to make things in miniature. He got many prizes for this. Let me show the scale of the thing, which is just astonishing in this little brochure here. So St. Ledger, that's his name, Lawrence Ledger. We come back. So those are the functions. And it's got about seven blades, I think. There's still no idea of the scale. Now look at the bottom picture of all, and you'll see the scale. Wow. There is an ordinary Swiss penknife, and that tiny thing inside the L is his one. And yes, it was £900 if I wanted to buy it. The trouble with having something that's so small as that, it's really, really small, is you've got to have a microscope to look at it, and you've got to have very special tools to open up each of those pieces. Well, if you're a watchmaker like Lawrence, you've got all the equipment for doing it, but I couldn't do that at home. So 1 centimeter long. Couldn't believe it. I sort of feel the best I can do is to show this one here again. It's a bit bigger than that Swiss cross. If that was a full-size penknife there, it's a little bit smaller than that. So, I mean, that is absolutely astonishing bit of engineering to do that. He made them to order about 5 years ago, I think it was. And there were a few people, willing to buy it at that price. But I didn't think of it seriously because it just is so small and you need such equipment to do it. So those extremes. You could make a very expensive one by putting loads of jewelry studded on it, etc., etc. But I'm not so interested in that. I just like novelty lives, and that's, to my mind, is the extreme. So look in your pocket and see what penknife you've got.